And now it's off to Wiltshire and the Marquis of Bath's famous Longleat Country Park for Woolbridge Motor Club's annual Hillclimb weekend. And here, wreathed in tyre smoke, comes our co-presenter Nadine Geary, blowing the cobwebs out of her massive 8-litre supercharged Dodge Viper, ready for her first practice run of the day. On a track that's still slippery after overnight rain, Nadine eases the big powerful car cautiously off the start line. Wheel spin almost takes over as she plants the right foot. Really into her stride now, Nadine pushes the Viper hard, but locks up under braking well before the left-hander at prospect. Now it's full bore up Club Straight, getting all the big car's immense power onto the tarmac before trying to judge the tricky braking point for the right-handed Dodge hairpin. Out of the final bend, and she really unleashes the power on the final run to the line. Well, that should have blown out the cobwebs.
Now I'm joined by Tony Wiltshire, who's from Newton Abbot, and he is the director of Centrax, an aerospace manufacturing company. Now Tony, you won at Longleat last year, so have you made any improvements to the car for this season?
No, this season's been a quiet season for me, and I've left the car pretty much as it was last year, so I'm just going to have to drive a lot harder to make an impression.
And you were at Gerston as well, so how did you get on there?
This year I focused on the Gerston Championship. They run two series there, one a championship, one a challenge, and I managed to win the top 10 challenge this year.
So you did pretty well.
It was a good season for me, that's for sure, but I gave myself a hard time at the last event because I managed to spin in practice, but come the end of the day, managed to pop one in the bag and it worked well.
So you're maintaining your high level then?
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm driving pretty hard.
Have you got anything planned to do to the car for the next season?
I'm going to sit down and ponder on what I do with the car. That's a big question for me this year.
Hi Nadine, it's good to see you here at Longleat. So you've just had your first practice run, you're back in the paddock now. How did that go?
Very slippery, absolutely no grip at all. This car was quite a handful. Got up the top and there's a lot of moss under the trees. It was even more of a handful then.
Bit of a surprise to you.
Yeah.
Well, while I'm sat here, I'll be careful not to scratch your car, but I have noticed there's a bit of damage. Can you tell us about that? How did you manage that?
That was from about a year ago in the Isle of Man, a hill climb up over the brow of the hill. The rear end got light and we left the road and bounced off a wall at about 120 mile an hour.
Not good.
No.
Not good.
Don't want to be doing that again.
No, well be careful with that moss today. Don't do any more damage. Get ready for your second run and good luck with that. And we'll see what's going on with Geary in the commentary box.
Well, Lucy, believe it or not, we've got a Morris Minor on the move. But Martin Baker's version is no ordinary district nurse's car. Gone is the faithful A series engine and gearbox of the original car. In its place, nestling inside the semi-space frame front end, is a turbocharged, fuel-injected 2-litre Fiat twin cam unit with Lancia Thema cylinder head and Fiat 131 gearbox. Traction control governs the 270 horsepower delivered to the 5-link Ford Escort back axle. Despite all this, the car's still fully road legal. Martin's father bought it new on an E-plate back in 1967. Now his son, who works during the week as a nuclear site engineer, has developed it into a real Q car. Now it's time to visit the oldest hill climb, in fact the oldest motorsport venue of any kind in the world. We are now at the Midland Automobile Club's legendary Shelsley Walsh Hill Climb for an event which celebrates the 60th anniversary of the longest running series in all motorsport, the British Hill Climb Championship. So now it's over to Lucy, who talks to some of the former champions who were on hand at this explosive meeting.
Martin Bolsover, you took a hat-trick of British titles in the early 80s. What cars were you driving then and who would you say was your main opposition?
There was a lot of opposition. I was mainly driving a pill beam single-seater. In those days they had smaller engines than they have today, but we managed to win it in '82, a long time ago. And I think towards the end of the year there were 6 basically of us that could win it that year. So it was a pretty tight year. And then the following year we had the similar car, and then the third year I changed it for a sports car and won the championship in the sports car, which was quite satisfying.
Absolutely. So today you're driving this unique Mclaren Road Car. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, when I finished hill climbing, I decided to try my hand at circuit racing, so I bought it in '84, and it was a Can-Am version in those days. So we used to compete in the European Six-Piece Championship, and we competed until the early '90s, and then I sort of retired. And I thought, well, it's a nice way of keeping the car, and theoretically you don't need a trailer and a motorhome rigmarole. And into this GT, because it was actually originally built as a GT.
Right.
So that was the project, but a huge amount of work went into it, but I just love it.
Well, it's absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for talking to us today and letting me sit in it. My first McLaren. It's great to meet you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another driver who regularly wows the crowds in present-day British and Midland hill climb events is Keith Edwards. Here's his flame-spitting Dialinx Audi Quattro in high-speed action on Shelsea's hallowed tarmac.
Roy Lane, with not only 4 British hill climb titles, but also 90 British run-off wins, you've had an unrivaled record of success over some 40 years in the sport. Can you highlight any memories you have for us?
I think you always got to remember this is not just one person, this is a team of people who's done this. Winning Val d'Isère and Guernsey, considering that for the top 12 run-off, I qualified 12th, so I just scraped in due to a tyre problem, and then I put the best tyres on for the final run of the day, my final run of the day, and I managed to pull that win off by sitting at the top of the hill in which I've heard the 11 cars come up the hill and all failed to beat my time, which at the age of 69 I thought was quite an achievement.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what is it about Shelsie Walsh that makes everybody want to win here?
Well, Shelsley, I mean, the famous atmosphere, you cannot get an atmosphere anywhere in the world like you can at Shelsley. You don't have to drive a car to get the atmosphere of Shelsley.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, a few years ago, you beat the legendary Raymond May's record of outright wins here at Chelsea. How do you rate that on your scale of achievements?
Well, obviously it was very nice to win 23 meetings at Shelsley because I got to know Raymond Mays, and he was a very, very pleasant man. He was very, very nice to me. He was very helpful. And then to go and beat his record, I felt a bit upset about it in some ways, but very pleased with myself, you know.
Well done,
Yeah.
you. Well, brilliant memories.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking to us today, Roy.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Many thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah.
1988 champion Charles Wardle and following his winner Ray Rowan were among the former champions entertaining the large crowd in the special car.
Tony Marsh, you're the only man to have won the British Hill Climb Championship 6 times, lasting as long as the championship itself, and you're still competing. Are you still enjoying it as much today as you were when you started?
Oh yes, very much. It's not just driving the cars, it's the general atmosphere and meeting the people. It's such a friendly family outing, really.
A lot of the venues are now the same as they were when you started competing, but do you think that they've changed at all?
Not really. I mean, the track is still the same. It's got a better surface on it, and one or two places have sprouted Armco barrier, but basically they're all the same.
How much has the level of Hillclimb car technology changed during your time in the sport?
Oh, tremendously. I did have a layoff for a few years. The old cars were very sort of blacksmith made by comparison. If I drove those now, I should frighten myself.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Tony. It was a pleasure to meet you.
My pleasure.
Now let's go back to Shrewsbury's June meeting, the Nicholson McLaren British Championship event, in which Martin Groves and series leader Scott Moran between them broken the outright hill record no less than 4 times. At the moment, honours lie with Martin, but this is Scott's final run. .82.83 seconds and the 5th and final hill record of the day. But now it's on to October, the final meeting of the year. Martin Groves comes to the line needing just 5th place to secure his British title hat-trick. But after clocking no less than 140 miles an hour into the Essex braking area during qualifying, he's clearly set his sights a bit higher than that. .82.81 seconds. With yet another new record, Martin Groves seals his 3rd British title.
22.81, concluding a 3rd win in the Hillclimb Championship, Martin Groves.
So, as the victory champagne comes out, both Martin and Scott can look back on a great season, intensely competitive but fought out in that tremendous spirit that's always been a part of British hill climbing.